Okay, continuing 3.1 here on graphing systems of equations and finding the answers. We have the number of solutions, and that's basically what you're talking about towards the end of the last one. Graphically and algebraically speaking, if two lines cross at one point, there's going to be one solution. Okay, algebraically speaking, there's only one answer. One x and one y works for that answer. One number answer. If two lines are on top of each other, identically right over top of each other, then there is infinitely many answers, which means because they touch at every single point and they're the exact same line, that there's going to be infinitely many answers to that problem. And if two lines are parallel to each other, what we're getting at is that they will never cross, meaning that there is no solutions to the problems because they'll never touch each other or intersect. So with example 4, it says your family is planning a 7-day trip to Florida, and you estimate that it will cost $275 per day in Tampa and $400 per day in Orlando. Your total budget for the 7 days is $2,300. How many days should you spend in each location? So we need to find our two variables here. And I'm going to make X be the days in Tampa and Y be the days in Florida. Okay? So when I'm doing this, I know what it costs, and it says per. And whenever you see that word per, that normally means multiplication. So what this is saying is that we'll spend $275 per day in Tampa. So it's 275x. Okay, and then we have y, and y is days in Florida, and we have a per here again, and it says 400 per day. So 400 times the days in Florida. Orlando is in Florida, so that will be y. Here's a hint that I'm giving you. Whenever you're making equations for word problems, most of the time you want to keep money with money. So since I'm talking about $275 and I'm talking about $400 and I'm talking about $2,300, I want to keep all those together. And the reason why it's x and y here is because it's 275 times x, as in $275 per day in Tampa, and it's $400 per day in Florida. And by Florida, I actually mean Orlando. So please keep. So either way, we kept money together, and we set it equal to $2,300 because $2,300 is what it's going to cost at the end of those 7 days. They stand for the days in Tampa and the days in Orlando. X stands for days in Tampa, and Y stands for days in Orlando. Well, think about it like this: how many total days are we spending there? There's only 7 days that we're spending. That's the only other number we have in this word problem. So I put the 7 back here, and it's x plus y equals 7 because however many days we spend in Tampa and however many days we spend in Orlando, I just add them together, and I'll get my 7 as the answer. So in order to do this problem, I need to graph this. So in order to graph this, let's find the x and y intercepts, because you know what, we can subtract 275, divide by 400, and we'll get some crazy numbers. Or to graph this, I could very simply just do the x and y intercept method and just graph those two weird fractions twice and connect them with a line. So that's why I'm doing this. To do this problem, what it's saying is plug in x is 0. So when I do that, this cancels out, leaving me with 400y equals 2,300. So that means I divide both sides by 400, and I end up getting 5.75 as my answer. So there's my first point, 0 and 5.75. Now to solve for the x, I make y equals 0, so I plug in a 0 for y, and that crosses out, leaving me with 275 equals x equals 2,300. So 275 times x means I divide both sides by 275, and I end up with 8.36. So there's my point, 8.360. So for these right here, I found my 2 points. So for the first point, that means I go over nothing and up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.75, and I put a point. This means I go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.36 and put a point. And I connect them. So there's the first one. The second line, however, will be much simpler to do, and the reason why it'll be much simpler is all I need to do is just move the x over to the other side, because it's a positive x, to get y by itself. So I get y equals negative x plus 7. So what that means is I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I go down 1 over 1, put a point, 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 and connect the lines. And wherever they cross is the answer. And by answer, I mean we're trying to figure out how many days I should spend at each one, which will give me the most amount of days that I can spend and keep me to that $2,300 mark. So they cross at this point, and that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 3. So it's 4, 3, meaning x is 4 and y is 3. Meaning if x is 4, that means it's 4 days in Tampa, and if y is 3, that means it's 3 days in Orlando.
Not me.
So there's your homework, and all you're doing on your homework is literally graphing. Remember, the key here is finding where these two graphs intersect. That's your answer that you're looking for. So plot as many possible points as you can so you can make the straight lines as possible so you can see where the two graphs intersect each other. Also, on that same topic, remember, if the lines are exactly the same, there are infinitely many answers. If the lines are parallel, there are no answers as well. So keep those concepts in mind. If you have any other questions or concerns, please email me or stay tuned. I will probably have some more examples here on graphing systems of equations in Chapter 3.